Do you ever feel that you and your manager just don't click? Perhaps you've noticed that your manager fears you want to take her position, and as a result, she doesn't provide the visibility and recognition you deserve for your work. Do you find yourself confronted by your manager whenever you try to take initiative, making you feel discouraged by their feedback? Do you have the concern that they don't trust you, or even worse, you don't feel they are setting you up for success in your role, let alone supporting your promotion and becoming a sponsor for your next career advancement? Now, as the performance review season approaches, you cannot help but wonder what your manager will say and how this could impact your future. In this video, I'll share how I navigated challenges with difficult managers, turning them into sponsors, and advancing my career. By the age of 28, my manager sponsored me for my first global director promotion at a Fortune 500 company, and later in my mid-30s, I went on to become the vice president for the same company with the support of other managers. Now, let's get into it. Now, in a perfect world, managers would recognize the impact they have on their team, taking steps to develop self-awareness and correct their course. However, we don't live in a perfect world, and it's naive to take for granted that everyone should have an amazing leader who takes actions based on all the advice from leadership books. Actually, the fastest and easiest way to improve the situation is you change your mindset first. If your relationship with your manager is suffering, work can be especially challenging, frustrating, and demotivating. Have a positive and healthy relationship with your boss is critical to your professional success and to your job satisfaction. While going to work is not like going to a popularity contest, but your boss's opinion matters for practical reasons because of the decision power and the influence they have over rewards like strategic project assignments, your visibility, your salary review, and even your next promotion. This also matters for psychological reasons. As human beings, we all want to please authority figures. When your boss doesn't like you, it is painful. It hurts your confidence and your feelings. Well, here's the good news. You have more power to improve the situation than you probably realize. You're not likely to turn things around with one great conversation with your manager, but using the step-by-step process I will share with you in this video will help you and your manager to start trusting each other more. Step number 1. Look for small ways to show that you are not a threat. Here's an interesting part about working for an insecure manager. That is, you try to understand why they feel threatened in the first place. They already have more power and authority than you. If there's one person between you two who should be worrying about the job, career, and how others perceive them, that person should be you, not your manager. Here's a recent phenomenon that many companies are starting to promote leaders based on diversity targets rather than on competence. This practice means that many managers are being elevated to these executive positions to meet diversity and inclusion targets. This creates the possibilities for incompetent leaders to hold powerful positions that they may not be fully prepared for. Here's the reality. When powerful people feel incompetent, they tend to act more aggressively towards other people. This includes sabotaging them or making their life a little more difficult. Now, the difference between how confident or capable leaders actually feel and the high expectations that comes with their role lies in their leadership skills, knowledge, access to stakeholders, information, and their ability to influence. The difference created ego defensiveness. That is, leaders start to do things, protect their self-esteem, or justify their actions. Now you might be thinking, to please your boss's ego is the last thing you want to do, especially if you don't even feel good about your manager. However, this is a relatively small price to pay because it can bring more peace to you, it can reduce your stress, and you will have much less frustrations. Regardless what type of manager you have, you always want them to think of you as an ally, not a threat. It's best if you can establish this from the very start of your relationship, but it's never too late to reset as well. For example, during meetings, you can give them some recognition whenever it feels right and genuine to you. When appropriate, you can say, "I appreciate your support in that meeting," or "I really respect your knowledge of the market outlook and I hope to continue to learn from you." To acknowledge the strength of your manager and to express it genuinely helps, especially for managers who feel incompetent. Well, the important thing here is to be genuine. If you don't truly feel it's true, first of all, it's hard for you to even say it, right? And secondly, most people can see it right through empty praise. Now, if you strongly feel your manager is incompetent and there's nothing you can learn from them, instead of showing admiration, then you can show appreciation for something they have done for you. Study shows that when an employee say, "Thank you so much, I'm grateful," this alone can positively influence any relationship. So even if your manager do not have the quality you truly admire or respect, you can think of something they have done for you. For example, some small things like giving you a chance to work in a high-profile project, or introducing you to a colleague in their network, or supporting your proposal in a meeting. Not only will your appreciation put your manager at ease, but by approaching them from a human to human level, you are drawing attention to one of their strengths and helping them to build their confidence. When working for an insecure manager, don't try to be competitive. The worst thing you can do is to revenge if they have done something negative to you. So if your manager questions your trustworthiness, or they've already told you that you've done something to make them look bad, retaliating will only make them more defensive. How about you think about this and have some empathy? Perhaps your manager had a previous work experience where a high-performing subordinate tried to sabotage them, or they were undermined by a direct report. So you recognizing that your manager is just another normal human being who has had bad experiences before with other subordinate can help you soften your attitude and how you interpret their behavior and their words. Step number 2 is become clear about your own leadership brand and your value. As you're watching my channel, you are probably leading a team as well. Your identity is not just a subordinate, but also a leader. According to research that analyzed thousands of 360 leadership assessments to decide what makes people trust a leader, there are 3 elements stand out: positive relationship, good judgment, and consistency. Now think about your interactions with your manager. Which of these 3 leadership traits are you good at? What can you make improvements? It is often challenging for us to objectively evaluate our own behavior, so get some honest feedback from a colleague who is familiar with your interactions with your manager. This can provide valuable insights on what you might do differently to improve the situation. When we judge others, especially our leaders, we mainly look at 2 things. Number 1, how much we like them, and number 2 is how capable they seem. Let's call this likability and competence. These 2 qualities are the main points of how we decide what we think about somebody. Why do these qualities matter? Well, they help us answer these 2 important questions. What does this person want from me? Can they actually do what they say they want to do? These answers shape how we feel and act towards others, whether they are people, groups, or even companies. Studies by social psychologist Amy Cuddy and her team show there are many personal traits in people, but the most important is how friendly and capable they seem. In fact, these 2 things are super powerful and affect more than 90% of how we feel about other people. Whether we get a positive or negative vibe from somebody mostly comes down to whether they seem warm or they seem strong. So do you want to be likable or strong? Many leaders think being strong and competent is the key in the workplace, but that might not be the best way. Leaders show their strengths before building the trust are risking making people feel negative about them, and that can cause a lot of problems. Now let's look at some data. The research find out that out of 51,836 leaders, only 27 were considered good leader when they were strongly disliked. So the chance of being a good leader when people don't even like you is really, really low. About 1 in 2,000. In fact, more and more research says that to influence and lead well, you should start with being warm. Warmth helps build trust, and it's like a way for ideas and communication to flow smoothly. Even small things like a nod, a smile, or an open gesture can show people that you are happy to be with them and you care about what they think. Remember, before people decide what they think of your words, they decide what they think of you as a person. The best way is to have both warmth and strength. These 2 qualities can actually help each other out. When we feel strong, it makes us more open. When we are confident and calm, we come across as authentic and friendly. So, having a mix of warmth and strength can make a person influential and help in different situations. Step number 3 is return to the one-on-one conversations with your manager. Now, with what you know, here is how to take the next steps. Start by questioning if it is you. If you have the impression that your manager doesn't trust you, the first question you need to ask is whether you are certain the problem lies with you. Perhaps your boss is an introvert. They are more comfortable when there is some distance between themselves and the others, and they don't put positivity out there on their face. Try to observe whether there are specific facts or examples that were directly at you. If your boss interacts with you differently compared to your peers, then the answer is likely yes. There might be something about you. In this case, self-evaluation. Ask yourself these questions. Am I working on the right projects that matters? Could it be that I have offended anyone with my way of working or my words in my communication? Have I been disregarding their feedback? Is there anything I have done to lose their trust or create perceptions of risk or uncertainty? The next step, own it. If after taking the first step, you find that the answer is yes, meaning that you have done something to make your manager look bad or lose their trust, then it's up to you to take the responsibility. Acknowledge it and apologize to your boss or anyone who may have been impacted. The good news is that even a negative professional relationship can be repaired. You really want to make sure that your manager understands your commitment to improvement and to ask for help and feedbacks in getting back on track. Most managers, regardless they are competent or not, they appreciate employees who delivers, have good intention, and actively ask for feedbacks and help. You can also put yourself in your manager's shoes. It doesn't benefit either you or your manager to continue a dysfunctional relationship. So yes, they do want to make it work as well. So reframe your thoughts about your manager. Emphasize good intentions, and it will influence your actions and feelings towards this person. What if you cannot think of anything you have done to cause this? Well, ask for feedback from your manager. You could say something like this. It is important to me that we work well together, and sometimes I feel like we don't. I want to take my responsibility for my part in that. What can I do differently to make our working relationship better? If she gives you the feedback, listen carefully and say, thank you for sharing that with me. You don't have to agree with everything they say, but by showing that you are ready to listen and maybe open to change a bit, she might be more open to do the same thing for you. Let me share with you a tool that you can use for this conversation. It's a framework called situation, behavior, and feeling. 3 steps. Situation, behavior, and feeling. Let me give you an example. Step number 1, the situation. Point out when and where a specific behavior occurred. Second step, the behavior. Explain in detail what you observed, being as specific, neutral, and fact-based as possible. And step number 3 is the impact. Describe your feeling. Here is an example of how you can use this framework in your conversation. I've noticed that in our team meeting, my department updates have been consistently put at the bottom of the agenda or even skipped due to time constraints in the last 3 monthly meetings. This makes me feel like you and the team aren't too interested in what our team is working on. I know it's probably not on purpose, but always being the last or skipped makes me feel like my projects aren't important or even valued. Step number 4 is to ask your manager's priorities. You want to have a talk with your manager and ask them about what they are focusing on and how you can help them. You might say something like this. I want to make sure I understand what success looks like for you and that our team is doing what we can to contribute. What are the top 3 things you are focusing on right now? The next step is look for opportunities to work together with your manager. Once you know your manager's priorities, see if there's a way you can work together. Is there a project where your skill or resources could be especially helpful to her? Share with your manager how you can be helpful. You can also highlight his or her strength where you can learn from and frame your work as a team effort. Use we as much as possible to show you are a team, and when you succeed, share the recognition with your manager as well. If you are serious about your career advancement and you want to increase your influence in your organization in the next 3 to 6 months, submit your application to the 1% Academy program where I will be coaching you. go to inspiremyday.org/apply or click the link in the description below to book a free strategy call with my team or myself to see if we're a good fit to work together. For now, I'll leave you with this video to find out why your manager is not promoting you. I'll see you there.